So, boom, power's off.
Light bulb's off. Oh, only like a 2-second delay. Light bulb back on.
Oh, power's off. Power's back on, and now we're grid connected. Thank you to our sponsors for today's video: InfyPower, Amber, StarCharge, and Nokian Tyres. InfyPower is the largest EV charger module provider with over 3 million power modules running reliably worldwide. Their latest G2 collection features ultra-high power density and efficiency for EV charging and energy storage integration. InfyPower, innovation for your power. Amber offers a modern extended warranty for your Tesla's battery and more without the burden of long-term contracts or upfront payments. Check out the link in the description below to browse their plan options and get started with a free over-the-air diagnostic check. This video is also brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage as well as microgrid solutions. And Nokian Tyres, a leader in safety and sustainability. Maximize performance and efficiency with their made in USA all-season tires and their dedicated Hakkapeliitta EV winter line from the inventor of the winter tire. Learn more at nokiantires.com/EV. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video, and welcome to our new house. We are moving in today. But this is not a moving video. This video is not about the new house. It's about installing charging in our new house. Of course, one of the best parts about electric vehicle ownership is having level 2 charging at home. So you can wake up every day at your desired charge limit on your electric vehicle and then go about your business. Well, it's a topic we don't actually cover enough on this channel. We talk a lot about DC charging and road trip charging, and I still think that is, until that works completely perfectly, electric vehicle adoption won't skyrocket. But for 90+% of use cases, I don't actually know the exact number, most people just charge at home. Now, I charge out on the road a lot of DC charging, but that is also supplemented with home charging. So this isn't just a home charging install. I'm also installing a bi-directional charging system to work off of my Cybertruck. Basically, if the house loses power, I can power the new house from the Cybertruck, which seems pretty cool. So let me walk you through the project, the details, the costs, and the guys have just arrived to start installing everything. So very much looking forward to this. So join me as we install my first ever bi-directional system and 2 EVSEs in the garage so we can charge 2 EVs at once. And there's a lot of load management and power sharing and all these things that are going on that I think you guys will nerd out about with me. So here is the garage. It's nothing special. We actually have a new out-of-spec hub coming to the channel very soon. That will be getting a full tour in no time whatsoever. So the idea is really the e-tron's probably going to live over here. That's Alyssa's daily driver. She's probably just going to want to drive that most of the time. We'll get all this stuff out of the garage, of course. And then whatever I'm going to drive back and forth to the hub will stay over here. And oftentimes I'm driving the Cybertruck. I really do enjoy it. It's very nimble, considering rear steering and steer-by-wire. I love the experience. And so that's probably what we'll be doing. But let me walk you through the project details before we go through the entire wiring routing. So we'll pop inside, excuse the mess, and I'm going to walk you through the invoice that the electric company sent to me. So it's a disaster in here at the moment, but this is what I want to talk about. We are working with Tesla, of course, to install the wall connectors. So Tesla, as included with my Cybertruck, for some of you who don't know, they essentially, because we bought a tri-motor Cyber Beast, said, hey, not only will we give you all of the equipment needed for bidirectional charging, which is honestly pretty basic, an AC gateway and a wall connector, we will also give you $4,000 towards the installation credit of that system. So some of you can say, okay, I've already paid for that, baked into the vehicle price. That's how I feel about it. It's prepaid for a system that I probably wouldn't have paid for, otherwise. But at least, now that I have the credit and the hardware, no reason not to install it. And then I actually redeemed through referral points. Shout out to all of you guys using our referral codes. I redeemed actually, you know what? I didn't. Colton did. So shout out to you guys for using Colton's referral points. A nice gift from Colton was the Tesla universal wall connector. So now I have two of those. So the Tesla Cybertruck Powershare comes with a universal wall connector. That's the J1772 and NAX in one. And I'll basically have two of those units, which will be really interesting. So just to keep in mind, all of the hardware is free here. Referral credit aside, but that was one connector, and then everything for the Cybertruck was provided by Tesla, plus a $4,000 installation credit. Let me walk you through the initial estimate that I got for this project. So the estimate from Dutch Creek Electric, who does most of Tesla's wall connectors and power sharing and everything, installations in the Colorado area, not sponsored in any way. I'm paying full price for this aside from the Tesla credit. I believe they're also the Q Merit partner. You can see it even says Q Merit here, so I'm sure that's how that will go. And the first is the installation of the Tesla Powershare system. And this is a system that will be a whole home backup configuration. Our house is not huge. We don't have a huge power draw, and it's actually enough for the Cybertruck to power the entire home, which will be pretty cool. And the gateway will be the main disconnect from the home. We will also have an app that we can measure the whole home energy usage, and I guess they'll be doing some grounding things. Okay, awesome. So the installation for that is $3,140. And I'll show you where they're installing it. My impression is the prices are pretty high. My gut feeling tells me is, hey, they're like, we know Tesla's giving us $4,000. We can just charge to max that $4,000 out. That's my impression. I don't know. And then on top of the Powershare system, they have the universal wall connector, which is not included in this. This is just the gateway install. Then they have the wall connector that they're installing literally right next to the power feed, and that's $600. Whoops. Sorry, I'm reading this off of my Twitter post today. And that also seems quite expensive to me. Again, prices seem to be going up here, but it's something that, especially as we're recommending cheap EVs to people, this is something we need to keep in mind that, hey, putting a level 2 charger at your house, especially when using a company like Qmerit or one of these, non-sketchy companies, the companies we recommend for you to go to for safety, well, that's not super cheap. And then this is the charge to run the other wall connector that I've requested, which is $1,250. And this will be on the other side of the garage. So I'll show you this in a minute. So it makes sense that it costs more, but not that much more. But again, this is the company we have to go with to get the $4,000 credit for the wall connector. I can't just call it my buddy Shane, who you've seen in other videos, and have him wire this thing up. It has to be legit, has to be through Tesla. That's the way we get the credit. And then we also have this Nurio meter kit. And this is how we will do some full home energy management with the second wall connector. I'll explain that in a moment. And then, of course, a permit fee. So on top of the $4,000 credit, I'm out $1,500 on top of that. I thought this whole install would be somewhere around $2,000 plus or minus, but man, was I off in my guesstimate. So Ben and Chris have arrived from Dutch Creek Electric. They're here to do, honestly, a pretty big install, it seems like. And we have on the side of the house over here, first of all, a tarp, because unusual for Colorado, we're actually getting rain. We have our main power feed from the grid. And this is only a 150 amp connection. So forgive some of the tarp making noise, but we have a 150 amp connection, and most of that will actually feed over to the main distribution panel in the garage. The only thing that was fed off of here directly was our AC unit, but we're actually going to be repositioning the AC unit to the main feed so that the Cybertruck can back up the whole house, including the air conditioning off the bidirectional system. So that main feed is literally right on the other side of this wall right here, which is a very short run. They're just going to come right through. And then interestingly, our sort of fuse box, our fuse panel is over here on this side of the garage. And I believe either all of this is going to get moved over there or just the AC unit's going to get moved here. I think that's how that's going to go. And then we can run the Powershare system off of the main house through there, and that will back up everything, which I think is going to be so cool to be able to plug in the Cybertruck and just be able to absolutely charge the house or power the house, if you will. So in terms of where we're going to put the EVSEs, I think we're going to have them put right here on the sides of the right on the back side of the garage here on each side, and they'll both be the Tesla 48 amp universal mobile connectors with, again, NACS NJ1772 in there, so we can charge any type of EV, which I really like. And then the interesting thing is we only have 150 amp service to the whole house. Now, we could go through and do a service upgrade, but in all transparency, a lot of you guys are going to ask, why don't you go full send, do solar, Powerwall, upgrade the service? Well, we are just renting this home. This is not a home for us to live in forever, maybe a few years, but we're working on another project, hopefully once it's easier to build in the distant, not so distant future. So we just, we kind of didn't, the old house just didn't work for us anymore. It was pretty cramped. So we have a little bit more space here, a nice open floor plan. That's the reason for the move. And we had been there for 4 or 5 years at something like that. So, we just got this place for the next few years to hold us over until we buy something. Anyway, that is the reason that we are not upgrading our service connection to the house, which means by adding the second wall connector running again on a 60 amp circuit, we would be over our load calculation allowable for the house. We would pop a circuit. We'd be out of code, out of spec, which is the whole point of this channel, of course. And honestly, that's how I have been running it at our old house. It was a little sketchy. I couldn't really run the dryer and the charger at the same time. And it was, okay, not great. So here what we're going to do is we're going to install some energy meters on the house input side, I think, which I think the Tesla Gateway already does. I don't really fully know why we're installing those. I'll have to ask the guys at Dutch Creek, a little bit more about those meters. But essentially what they'll do is they'll dynamically derate the second wall connector. So the wall connector over there, that one will always give us full 48 amps. That'll be the Powershare bidirectional wall connector. This one is just going to be, 48 amps dedicated until we turn on the ovens and the dryer and the other wall connector. And then it will just dynamically derate to hold us at the maximum amperage that we set for the whole house. I think that's pretty cool. And it's actually better, I think, than load sharing both connectors together. For some reason, Tesla doesn't allow the Powershare connector to be load shared with another wall connector. That just is not available yet. It's how I had it set up in our old house. I had a dedicated 60 amp circuit, 48 amps on each wall connector until you plug in both, and then they would derate to half, basically. That's not so possible here. So I know I just hit you guys with a bunch of nerd info, a bunch of install stuff. It probably is confusing to not be here in person and get a sense of the scale and the install locations, but I'm really excited about this. Let's join through the installation process. It's early morning, 9:45 on a Thursday. The Cybertruck's actually in for service at the moment, so we can't even plug it in if it was to get fully installed. We should have it back hopefully tomorrow, and I just can't wait to plug in some cars and charge it home and get the bidirectional thing running. Let me know if you think I should power the house for a month off the Cybertruck Powershare alone. Shuttle it to the supercharger, bring it back, and power the house. It would be an interesting experiment. I'm sure it'd be a pain in the ass, but it could be an interesting experiment. So the guys at Dutch Creek have this sick van here, fully kitted with all the different gauges of wire you could need. We've got pipe coming out of here. We've got universal wall connectors. This is the one I was talking about where it's NACS NJ1772. So we'll have 2 of these installed. Colton has just installed that in his home. It works pretty well. I really like Autel units, other units as well. ChargePoint makes a great home unit, but in this case, it made sense to go with Tesla, of course, because they gave it to us and we need to use it for Powershare. So we've got a little mobile workstation going on out here, which is pretty sick. This seems to be the gateway right over here. So this is the gateway, right?
Yes, sir.
How does it actually work from a routing standpoint?
So main power is going to come in out of where this is feeding your sub panel in the garage. These lugs are going to feed your gateway.
Okay.
To the main here.
So this will be installed in the garage.
This will be installed right here.
Oh, outside. Okay, I see.
So these wires are going to go onto here, which will then feed your sub panel.
Okay, so this is the output then.
Exactly. We're going to run new wires from these lugs that are already existing to the existing main.
And what is the maximum amperage that this panel can handle?
200.
200 amps, and our house is only 150, so we won't be maxing it out. Okay, cool. This is sick. I'm very much looking forward to it. This seems really nicely engineered, and your impression of working with this, it's pretty easy to wire everything?
Absolutely. We've done a lot of integration systems for Ford and Tesla, and I think that the Tesla piece is a lot cleaner.
Yeah, well, the Ford and the GM systems require a dark start battery and an inverter because they do all of the bidirectional off-board, where Tesla will actually send AC power to this, right?
It's all happening up in here. That's why
Okay.
it's so heavy. There's this heavy piece of coil. All that's happening up in there.
Oh, damn. Okay, so this does have some heft to it. Oh, holy shit. Yeah, okay. That is heavy. So where does the wall connector come into play here?
We'll add it to the breaker busing here. So I have 2 breakers for your 2 different car chargers, and then another breaker for your existing AC already.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is just one bus bar that you can feed back into. Yes, makes sense. Cool. Well, looking forward to seeing how this goes. Thanks for the info. So the guys are awesome. They're working right behind this panel right now to install the gateway. Then they will pop through the wall here, run a conduit inside. They had the option to run a conduit outside or inside. I selected inside just because I don't know what the HOA rules are, and I don't care what the inside of the garage looks like. I like conduit, so I was like, well, let's just put it inside. And yeah, so that'll be the way we do it. So we've got some conduit bending going on in here. This is pretty sick. And there's also some flexi conduit on this side. That is really cool to see. And yeah, so how's the process going so far from the metal standpoint?
Good.
Love to see it.
This is definitely, once I get this, just gonna bend to 90 for this car charger, then I'll move on to running up and over, down for that car charger on the other side.
Mm-hmm. So you'll come up sort of this way, down to the concrete, and then make a 90 and head there.
We can do that if you'd like.
Yeah. What's the other option?
We were just going to come up, across,
Yeah.
level with that I-beam. We make our 90, stay level and stay high, and then 90 directly into the truck.
Oh yeah, that's cool too. It doesn't matter to me either way. That would look great.
Easy,
Yeah.
easy. Awesome. I've got the gateway up.
Oh yeah.
Start to get the wires.
Can we take a look at that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Let's do that. So
Everything fits. That door, you got a really nice glass Tesla door on there, so it looks really clean.
oh, for that front panel there. Okay.
So
Yeah.
have it kind of hidden right here so it doesn't get scratched.
So the process of the gateway was all of this equipment was actually sent to you guys.
Yes, sir.
And then we are basically, Tesla says who has to install it. Yes. And you guys are awesome. So that's great. So cool from my perspective. So now we have the 260 amp breakers. Those are for each wall connector.
Yes, sir.
And then the 25 for AC.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then these will go to the main panel, which will get switched there.
Exactly.
I think I got it. That's cool. Yes. I'd love to know what's kind of going on up here. Like, what are the coils even for?
So I haven't gotten too deep on that reading quite yet, but I do know that like we talked about earlier, all of the stuff that formed with the Dark Star, all of that transforming of that energy, rather than happening in the Dark Star, in an inverter, and another piece of equipment, it's all happening up in here.
Yeah. So there's got to be a little bit of energy capacity in here to power it when the main feed goes down.
Exactly.
But this is such a much simpler system than doing it with, the GM or the Ford. Exactly. Obviously, you're putting the vehicle, increasing the vehicle cost by putting that inverter inside the truck. But I think it's worth it because very few people are going to go and install a $10, $12, $15,000, backup system for the couple times a year we lose power.
Exactly. Especially up here.
Whereas this, for an average install, probably $2,500 to $3,500, something like that. That's a lot more palatable for people.
Absolutely.
So yeah, pretty cool. Have you done any of these installs so far?
I've done about 5 or 6.
Okay, so
I have,
yeah.
The company we've done I think 9 or 10, but I've been doing a good majority of them.
Amazing, yeah, because you guys are really doing the whole Front Range area for Tesla, right?
Yeah, we're all over the place. We're down south in the Springs. We're way out west in the mountains in Breckenridge, up north here in Fort Collins. We are everywhere.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, this is looking great. Thanks so much for doing everything.
Absolutely.
And good morning. It is actually the next day, day 2 of the installation. And this is the day where we run power. So a lot has actually happened since the last update. We were busy moving and the guys came back today to finish up the wiring portion. So this is all the real fun nerd wiring stuff. Let me just show you in the garage some of the actual metal work that they did, which I think is really fantastic. So we have, again, 2 wall connectors placed, one over here, and then one that will be just behind the camera at the moment. You can see we have 2 inlet ports into the garage right through there with some flexible conduit. And then they've wired this, or I should say ran this conduit all the way down here. And yeah, looks really cool. Now, a question for you actually, is the purpose of this access port for the 360 bend radius rule?
Yeah, so by code, we're not allowed to have more than 360 degrees in bends. So that kind of helps us escape that because you can access the wire to help continue to push it through.
Right, exactly. So you have the bend radius issue. So that's where you can, basically pull through here. So you're not pulling it all in a circle. And then we will have our output wire here. We have number 6 gauge wire, which is exactly what's needed here. If we just go look over here at the gateway installation on this side, we've got wires everywhere. Power's still running to the house at the moment, but I'm sure we're going to switch that in the next few minutes at some point. And right, so you can see those extra cables that are coming into our main feed here. That's awesome. Anything you wanted to add on this side?
No, moving through. We just got some low voltage cables that will hook up so that the communications between the charger and the gateway happen.
Okay, where do those get wired into? Up here?
So black and red, go to black and red here, and then blue and orange, there's a little port up here that we'll add in there.
Okay.
Done and done.
That's pretty cool. So that will do the communication to initiate the power share.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
What happens when we put too much load on the house for the truck?
It'll just turn off.
Okay, so it'll just basically essentially trip an E-fuse and then it'll reset itself. Okay, very cool. Do you think we'll be able to run the house and the air conditioning off the Cybertruck?
I do. You only have a 25 amp air conditioner.
Yeah.
When we do backup loads panels rather than the whole backup panel, the highest 220 breaker we're allowed to put in is a 30 amp breaker. So with that 25 amp, you should be just fine.
Right. We just will not be able to power the other car charger, of course, which makes sense.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, all good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, just a few hours later and the installation is complete from a hardware standpoint. We're going to go through and set everything up, but we have our 2 universal wall connectors over here. And let me show you the gateway because that's installed with the nice cover as well. And I guess we could probably add a power wall pretty easily now that we have the gateway installed. So firmly push door, then push top of latch, and then pull. And so here it's labeled pretty nicely. We have our EV charger, which is going to be the universal wall connector on the far side. We have the AC unit, which feeds just a slightly undersized AC unit for the house, honestly. And then we have a east side over here, which this is the Powershare one. And we're thinking that when we are power sharing, actually we can charge on the other charger just at lower power, of course, because we'll be at a maximum output of whatever the Cybertruck can handle. So what we're going to do is scan all this stuff, get it all connected up, and set it up in the app for the first time. So it should be kind of fun. Very much looking forward to this. Let's set it all up. Alyssa, so we have these universal wall connectors, which is NACS, and it has a built-in adapter. So I don't know if you've seen this before. You can't remove it once it's out.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so you never really have to hit that button. It's just that one there that latches
So
them
we'll
together.
never have to keep them all around the place. We can just keep them all in our cars now.
The adapters, yeah. And you can't ever lose this one because it forces you to install it to remove it. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just surprised that, our rental company wants us to take this all out after. But
Yeah.
I guess we would just take this, not really this.
Sure, right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, I haven't even mentioned that in the video yet.
Oh, what?
That we have to take all this with us when we leave the house.
Yeah, even the junction box out there too.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be here for a few years though.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta be careful, don't run into a wall.
Yeah, you'd think they would just do the extra step and just...
Well, they did over there. Almost all the way.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Cookie cutter home construction.
Maybe we can ask them if they can finish this.
Yeah, they won't.
No, they definitely won't.
Well, guys, I couldn't quite get the app to show real-time metering through the gateway. And I think when I went into the system, I found a kind of an issue with that. But I am charging the Model S. These do show the charge session logs. So I have a meter running on them. It shows me all of that, and I'm charging both cars now at the same time. Now, it's important to remember we do not have the energy meter for like the load sharing installed just yet. That will come next week, so we need to do our own sort of load management at the moment. But as long as we don't run the oven and the dryer in both cars at the same time, we're good. So what I'm going to do is kind of a stress test on the system where I'm charging the Model S from 9% to 80%. This one was actually at 13% to 80%, and they're both running 48 amp output. So we're just going to see how it does with both chargers running full rip, and I'm sure it should be totally fine. So we're going to let these cars charge up here, and yeah, all is good. Okay, y'all, fast forward about a month or so. I've been on vacation. The truck has been in for service. I've been using the wall connectors, but I've been gone. So those have all been working fine. I've run both at the same time. Everything is good. But now I finally have the Cybertruck, which means we can do our first Powershare and run the house off the truck. So I've actually, feedback, would like to send you notifications. No. You can see right now, this took a minute to get sorted because they installed the system and I wasn't getting any live data. Everything was working, but I couldn't see any of the live data. And at first the company was like, oh, hey, you're not supposed to see live data. And then they called Tesla and they're like, you're not supposed to see live data. And I was like, but the gateway is supposed to show live data. I've seen someone else do this. So what I did was I factory reset. I downloaded the Tesla One app, which is like installer. Somehow my account let me in, and I factory reset my gateway. As soon as I did that and reconfigured it, boom, I get all my correct. Discover Powershare. And Powershare backup technology unlocks Cybertruck's ability to power your home automatically during an outage. How cool is that? Okay, so we have the wall connector and we also have the gateway. So we have the correct equipment. Whoops, went one too many. Set a discharge limit to stop Powershare, ensure you have power to drive. So I would set like 10%, 5%, something like that. We can come over here, set your vehicle controls to automatically back up your home if an outage occurs. That sounds great. So I'll just leave the truck plugged in at 50% all the time. And then if we lose power for whatever reason, it'll just pull it from the battery. And then this one says during a grid outage, your vehicle will automatically power your home. A brief shutdown occurs. Now that is what I'm really curious about, is how long is the shutdown? How cool is that? It even shows the lights coming on and off in the app when it works. That's so neat. And then we come over here to you've completed learning. Go to controls. Let's set it up. So now I'm in the controls menu. So what I'm gonna do is go to Powershare home backup. If there's an outage, Cybertruck, great. Why does it say home not connected? I'm definitely connected to my home, and that's the unit that should do it. Discharge limit, 5%, 10%, let's just say. That's great, and I think that's all I need to do. I'm gonna reconnect the home thing, make sure the truck knows we're hooked up to the house. I mean, the house knows we're hooked up to the right truck, and see if we can get this to work. And you can see inside the truck, I do have Powershare home backup on. So I think maybe it's only in the app that I have the ability to set the discharge limit. I don't see that here under the charging menu, but okay. We're at 43% stated charge. Let's cut the power. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think I have everything sorted out now. I can see that the truck is charging properly. It wasn't connecting for whatever reason. I had to shut Wi-Fi off in the truck. I don't know why that would be an issue, but I can come over here to my home, boom, and we have everything set up. So the Cybertruck knows it's connected to the house knows it's connected to the Cybertruck, and I'm gonna simulate a power loss and see how long it takes for it to back up the house and see what happens. I guess we should have these garage lights as our, indication that the power is still on. So I'm gonna have Danny, my buddy Danny, stand in here, film the lights when I flip the switch, and then we'll have the iPad with us to see what this shows. Okay, I have the air conditioning running. Danny's inside filming. Danny, you're filming? All right, he's filming. I've got the app up showing everything that's going on. I'm gonna flip the main disconnect. So, boom, power's off. Okay. Oh, I heard something in the gateway kick on. The house is, it's not updating super fast, but we probably lost Wi-Fi to the house as well. Wall connectors are powered back up, right?
Yeah, it was like a 2-second delay maybe.
Holy smokes. So, and you can see it's feeding power back to the house. And yeah, of course, the house lost internet, so this is not so helpful at the moment. But we're running the house off the freaking Cybertruck, dude. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Light bulb's off. Oh, only like a 2-second delay. Light bulb back on. In theory, is that the Cybertruck? The Tesla charger kept going the whole time.
Wall connectors are powered back up, right?
Yeah, it was like a 2-second delay maybe.
Holy smokes. What does it show in the truck? Yeah, so it says energy remaining approximately 1 day at 44%. And it's doing 0.6 kilowatts. And I have it set to shut off at 10% state of charge. That is freaking epic. So yeah, and this has gone purple, indicating a power share. Whoa, my first ever bidirectional charge. Danny, this is cool.
I'm here for history.
It's our first ever bidirectional on out of spec.
Nice.
I mean, in our own house. I've filmed the GM and the Ford systems before, but those take like almost a minute. Ford is like a minute and GM is like 35 seconds. This was like
2 seconds, maybe?
Holy smokes.
Click, click, done.
That's insane. Yeah, now it says check Wi-Fi connection here. So we'll see what happens when the house powers back up. Dude, that's awesome. Nice. The lights are back on in the house. The TV's on. Is the air conditioning running? Seems like air conditioning's fine. Dogs are happy. Yeah, running off the Cybertruck. Blue's a little nervous about it. He's like, I don't trust them Teslas. Come on, Blue. It's okay, buddy. EV's not going to hurt you. Danny, now the hardest thing for the truck to do would be to basically do that crank start of the air conditioning unit. So right now the house is only using 900 watts. It's really not much. And we have lights on. Well, TV was just on. But anyway, I mean, this house doesn't really use much. We don't have anything really going in here, except we need aircon to crank. So why don't you crank that bad boy up and we'll see if the truck can do a big discharge. Well, guys, if you take a look here, you'll see the AC unit cranks up, pulls almost 11 kilowatts, and then it levels off somewhere around 2 to 3 kilowatts. Now, if I had more static load, it may trip the Cybertruck's E-fuse, and in that case, I can add a soft start to my air conditioning unit. But at least for now and for the upcoming experiment, I've not really had any issues with this. Guys, it is the next morning, and I have been running the entire house from when I plugged it in yesterday off the Cybertruck until now. And it has been completely perfect, except for a power surge somewhere around here. But weirdly, it was only around 5 or 6 kilowatts. The truck was at 21%, I think, when it happened, and just seemed a little bit odd. The air conditioning had already kicked on. It was running, normally, which it's been doing throughout the night. You can see it doing this just fine. A couple little spikes, but this definitely, this chart is different. You can see that's 14 kilowatts here and 6 kilowatts. So the weighting is different, but essentially these spikes are similar-ish in the AC unit cranking on. Something freaked out the Cybertruck though. It shut off for about 10 seconds and then the power came back on. But other than that, I've been running it all night off the truck and it's been totally fine. I'm curious to see what happens when we simulate power coming back on. So let's open up the garage and try that, because I got to take the Cybertruck and put energy back into it so we can use it for some driving today. Guys, for context, I asked my buddy Tom Malogny, who I do a every Friday show with called Batteries Included Podcast. Check it out if you haven't. Tom has an F-150 Lightning with the Ford backup system. And I asked him to say, like, hey, can you demonstrate how your bidirectional system works in comparison to Tesla? They use completely different technologies. Ford was really the first automaker in the US to enable bidirectional power. There was stuff with Renault Zoe in Europe and Nissan Leaf in other markets, and here as well, there was some CHAdeMO bidirectional. But up to this point, every car, including the Ford, used a DC bidirectional, where they would send DC power back to an inverter, convert it off-board, and then power the house, which is why a lot of those systems were so expensive. The $2,500 for all of the hardware from Tesla, including the wall connector, is really cheap in comparison to the other systems and much simpler to install because the Cybertruck has built-in AC bidirectional capability. So it's actually doing the inverter's job on board, and the Cybertruck can do roughly 11 kilowatts of AC power back to the home, and that certainly will increase cost of the vehicle to do this. Maybe $30 to $100 per vehicle is what I'm kind of gauging by talking to industry experts from suppliers and automakers. And to me, to put another, let's just call it an average of $50 cost per vehicle to do AC bidirectional will make this technology so much more prolific, I think. We'll talk more about that later on in the video, but I really want to show the Ford system from Tom, and a huge thank you to him. I'll leave a link to State of Charge, his YouTube channel, in the description below.
Hello, Out of Spec. Coming to you from the State of Charge garage with my 2022 Ford F-150 Lightning. We're going to do a quick demonstration of Ford's intelligent home backup power system. Now, in order to use this system, you A, need a Ford F-150 Lightning, B, need to have Charge Station Pro, which is Ford's 80 amp bidirectional charger. I got mine free with the Lightning. I don't believe they give them free anymore when you buy the vehicle, so it's a $1,300 purchase if you don't get it for free. In addition to that, you need to buy Ford's home integration kit, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. But basically, the vehicle has to be plugged in. It can be charging or not charging, that doesn't matter. So let's plug it in now. By the way, I love the fact that this is an 80 amp charger because with a huge battery like the Lightning has, 131 kilowatt hour of usable capacity for the extended range Lightning, it's great to be able to pump 19 kilowatts into the battery. This thing charges so quickly at home. For EVs with larger than 100 kilowatt hour battery packs, I really think the manufacturer should offer an 80 amp onboard charger as an option at the bare minimum. Okay, so right now my vehicle is not charging, and that's because it's already charged. I have it set at an 85% charge limit, and it's at 85% charge. I actually charged it last night. So now let's go take a look in my basement where my service panel is and where the intelligent backup power system is set up. Okay, so we're down in the basement where my home electrical service is, and this is the Ford Intelligent Backup Power System. There's three components. This is called the mid. It's basically the transfer switch. This is the dark start battery. There needs to be a power source when there's a power outage to be able to power the system initially just to get it going. And then this is the inverter. I'm actually using this. I have solar at my house. I used to have two inverters here, another one of these guys. But when I put in this system, we replaced my existing inverter with this one here to use for the system. So now it's actually, solar's going through this right now. So basically, I had to install a sub panel here. These are the circuits that are powered by Charge Station by Intelligent Backup Power. Now you're also going to notice I got a lot of other stuff going on here. I have a 400 amp service. I needed to have a 400 amp service installed because I do a lot of testing in the State of Charge garage. I also have a whole home natural gas generator. So I don't need this system. I installed it to do demonstration videos and just to show people how it works basically. And I put a bunch of circuits on it just to show. Part of the circuits are the basement lights. So we can see exactly how long it takes to turn on once we have a power outage. So we're going to do that now. Let me get my timer going here. Now I'm going to simulate a power outage. I'm going to shut off the power to the system. Okay, lights went out. Timer is going. Let's see how long it takes the Ford Intelligent Backup Power System to turn on and start powering my house. Now, this system here cost $3,850. And I mentioned earlier that you have to get the Ford Charge Station Pro, which is $1,300 if it doesn't come for free. And I'm not even sure you're gonna see me on video anymore. I'll try to get close. But so the system will cost like $5,300, and that's just for the system. If you want to, if you kind of want to have it installed, that could be $3,000 or $4,000. It could go up to $10,000, depending on what your home's the current electric wiring looks like. So it's an expensive system to install, and for that you get 9.6 kilowatt of power, which isn't really enough to power, say, a whole house. You could put all your essentials on it, which is really all you need to get through a power outage, some of the most essential things. But it's really not something that you'd be able to, say, charge your electric car and power everything with. I'm hearing some clicking going on over here, so hopefully it's going to come on soon. And there we go. A minute, and 15. So minute 16. I was a little late on the trigger. So just a little more than 1 minute, and the system kicked on, and it's now powering all of the circuits in the house that I have wired on this. So that's a brief overview of the Ford Intelligent Backup Power System. If you're interested in a more lengthy explanation, I have a whole dedicated video on this on State of Charge. Maybe Kyle will be kind enough to drop a link to that in the description of this video. Kyle, back to you and Out of Spec Studios.
Well, first of all, Tom just does a much better job than I do at any of this. He really should come out here and film a video on our Cybertruck system, because first of all, that's a lot of complication. My view, I think that's almost too much for like an average user to want to go in and install. Look, someone had to be first. And especially in our market, props to Ford for dumping a ton of money and time and research and paving the way for at-home bidirectional for these types of uses. No question, we knew a first-of-its-kind system is not going to be, sort of that relevant many years into the future. Early versions of technology rarely are. So props to Ford for doing that. But look at how different the Cybertruck system is compared to the Ford system, just in the sense of install size. Everything Tom's got on his wall there is basically in that gateway. And the gateway, because the truck sends AC power back, I don't need the inverter, I don't need the dark start battery. And because the Cybertruck can output 11 kilowatts, I have my entire home, including the air conditioning, backed up on the Cybertruck. Now, I can't run everything in my home and power the other vehicle at once, so I have to do some energy management, but it's still, I ran my whole, you'll see, I'm going to run the house for a whole night, and it works pretty well. One last major point was the time for the vehicle to kick on during an outage. Now, for a couple times a year, if you have an outage, 1 minute, 10 minutes, okay, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but the Ford system was like 1 minute, 15 seconds. The GM system that I filmed a video on was like 40 seconds, 38 to 40 seconds, a little bit faster than the Ford. And it does depend if you catch the car when it's awake or asleep, so that time can change. But the Cybertruck was 4 seconds. Danny said it felt like 2. I put a stopwatch to it and it was 4 seconds. That's a big difference. So not only is the install cost way less and less complicated, it also reacts faster and can output more power. At a direct comparison level, the Tesla system seems to be far superior doing AC back to the home. So we are using 600 watts to the house, really not much. AC unit really isn't running. Let's see what happens when let's crank her on. It's a heavy one. Okay, power's back on. Didn't hear anything with the gateway change. The house says grid outage still, but again, connection might be, or we still have power. This is still back feeding the house at the same time we have grid power on. So when will it flip back? Yeah, so the truck is still back feeding the house without question, but I've put grid power back on. Huh, what the heck? Let's look into this. Oh, look at this. It says Powershare session ending, grid power detected, Chomper will stop Powershare and home will be reconnected to grid power within 5 minutes. So now what I'm really curious about is, will we have a power surge, guys? What do you think? Will we have a power surge? We'll find out. Oh, power's off. Power's back on, and now we're grid connected. That's a really quick, that was like tick, tick. But I'm surprised it couldn't do it seamlessly. And so now, the truck is now charging. Boom. How about that? It's such a cool technology. Well, guys, there you have it. The Tesla Powershare, a full installation and first usage for an overnight time period. The things that stand out to me were, first of all, how professional and great the installers were, especially with some of their metal work was absolutely amazing. So shout out to those guys at Dutch Creek. Really enjoyed working with them. The second thing that stands out to me is the cost of this installation. It was a lot higher than I think maybe it should be worth. For EVs and home charging and bidirectional charging to be prolific, these prices need to come down. And I understand there's a lot of time and material cost and expertise that you're paying for in an area like this. But if everyone's going to drive electric, home charging costs do need to come down. This should not have been a $6,500 installation without the cost of the actual equipment. We have another, I don't know, $3,500 in equipment. Let's just call it 10 grand all in to do this. If you were to pay for everything out of pocket, the gateway, the wall connectors and everything, that's just too much in my opinion. And I'm certainly happy that all of the chargers and or I should say EVSEs and the gateway came included. The $4,000 credit from the truck came included. That was awesome. And so I was only out $1,500 for this whole installation. But still, $10,000 all in is a lot of money for a situation like this, which is going to be very common, where you definitely want a bidirectional system in the future, and you need 2 wall connectors. If everyone's going to drive electric, a lot of families are 2-car households. This is not an untypical solution. So that to me stands out as a real negative here. And you can disagree with me in the comments all you want, but 10 grand just to put in charging at a house, that's too much. And certainly if we had just run a simple NEMA 1450 outlet right here under the panel, it could have been in the $300 to $500 range. So you don't need to go as crazy as I did here, but I still think this is going to be a pretty typical setup going forwards. The third thing that I think is really nice is I love the universal wall connectors, the NACS and the J plug built in. That is such a great solution. Being able to run 2 chargers at home or 2 EVSEs at home is life-changing. It's really awesome. And I highly recommend any of our viewers who have an electric car without home charging to find a way to install home charging, because it is just great peace of mind and really can give you back time from having to go out and charge your vehicle. Now you can go spend time with friends and family, which is wonderful. And on the topic of the Powershare and the bidirectional, man, does that happen quick. I personally am a big fan of AC bidirectional rather than DC bidirectional. There are benefits to DC bidirectional, especially when you start pairing them with home battery systems that don't require a ton of conversion power, and you can just do a DC buck boost between the battery pack in the car and the battery pack in the wall. There are benefits to DC, but I think the cost benefit of AC to install at home certainly is well worth it. If we were to put in a Ford or GM system, just the hardware alone would have cost almost what this entire install with the material work went in here. I mean, that's a $7,500 to $8,000 hardware package, depending on Ford or GM. GM's, I think, a little bit more expensive. And then you got to install that. You're into it for 10 to 15 grand, maybe 15 minimum, just to put in, again, a DC bidirectional system. And then you have inverter losses, all that stuff. Certainly, I paid for the AC components in the truck with the power conversion system, but those extra transistors, according to some automakers that I've talked to, it's minimal cost. I've heard anywhere between $30 and $100 cost per vehicle, depending on the automaker. Totally worth it just to put it in there. So many more people will install bidirectional charging if you stuff the cost in the car, which is a tough thing to do, but I think 100% worth it as we enter this next generation of electric cars and grid connectivity and vehicle to home and vehicle to load functionality. And with that said, I think the next video is going to be really interesting. I'm planning, and I don't know exactly what month I'm going to do it in, but I'm going to run my house off grid for a month off the Cybertruck. I'll take it to go supercharge, which I actually have free supercharging credits on this truck because of referrals. Thank you guys for using our Tesla referral. We also have a Rivian referral now, I guess. Crazy. But a huge thanks to you guys for using those. So I actually have free supercharging on this truck. So I can run my house for free for a month, which I think is just like stick it to the man. Out of principle. I love that. So cool. And looking forward to showing Fort Collins utilities that we don't need them. We do need you. It's just an experiment. Should be really fun. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. And thank you so much for joining me on this home installation plus first PowerShare experience. It's been really fun. See you on another one again soon. Bye-bye.